environment, and it's somehow very flexible environment and very feature-rich environment. And we will start from here about what is the Magento requirement, what this application requires in order to work perfectly, in order to provide with the best performance to the end users, in order to be secure, scalable, highly available, to make the operation of the Magento platform also efficient for the e-commerce business. First of all, Magento is based on open source. There are like different offerings from Magento, but at the end, Magento is based on open source, and this is based on open source, and there are a lot of integration also with an open source components or third party or blogs. So that's why there will be a continuous development around the Magento. Also, whenever we are based on open source or we are integrating with a lot of open source component, then the security is one of the concerns of Magento setup. And since Magento is serving the e-commerce, and the e-commerce customers is having always a variable demand. We always have a variable demanding on the e-commerce platforms or e-commerce portals that depends on specific event or promotion. Like here, I have took a snapshot from one of our customers that how there was a spike in the customers who's accessing their e-commerce portal during a specific promotion. Same thing if there is any like new Samsung promotion, iPhone promotion, Black Friday promotion, holidays promotions. There will be a lot of spike and a lot of changes on the customer behaviors related to the number of concurrent users who's using that portal. That's why always the e-commerce platform should be scalable enough in order to keep the customer performance at a certain level and the customer experience at a certain level without any performance degradation. And since the e-commerce portals are published to the internet and it is a customer-facing platform, that's why the end user experience and the high performance is always one of the main requirements for Magento, as well in order to keep the customer expectation and to keep the end customer experience at a high level. We need always to have a customized experience for the customer based on their behavior, based on what their interest. That's why customization, personalization, and high performance is one of the main considerations for setting up Magento platform. Magento platform is very modular. It has the different modules related to the product management, related to the cart management, related to the warehousing, also the integration with the logistics, the integration with payment gateways, managing the content and managing the products of Magento. That's why Magento, these modules can perfectly fit into a microservices architecture. Where we can, if we would like to apply the auto scaling, we can apply that auto scaling. We don't need to scale out the whole environment, but we can apply that auto scaling or on specific modules. We can we can make some kind of isolation and more secure setup by following the microservices architecture. In brief, we try to focus on the main component and main requirement for Magento to tackle the continuous development requirement, the security, the scalability, performance, and end user personalization, and for the best end user experience, as well as the modularity. Now, how the cloud, and especially AWS, can serve these purposes? How AWS, what kind of services provided by AWS Cloud can satisfy this requirement? First of all, for the continuous development, we have the continuous integration and continuous deployment by AWS code pipeline, where using AWS CI/CD component from code commit and code build and code deploy, we can build a pipeline for the continuous development and continuous integration for the Magento, where we can take the Magento deployment seamlessly through different environment, from the development environment to the staging environment to the production environment, with zero downtime, without affecting any user experience, and making the developers focusing on keep developing that powerful e-commerce platform. And from infrastructure perspective, we will be fully automating that application development for the Magento. Now, from security perspective, which is one of the most important aspects for any internet-facing application, especially the e-commerce, which has like sometimes millions of visits per day. Also, AWS provide a very wide spectrum of security services, starting by the identity access management and identity services, where by using different identity security services by AWS, we can fine-tune the identity-based access and provide with the proper roles and authorization to allow only the authorized service or authorized user to access specific resources. Also, another level of protection and wide services related to the infrastructure protection, like the DDoS protection, the web application firewall, the layer 4 firewall itself, the key management system, and in order to support the encryption for the data at rest and for the data in motion. As well, the different network security protection services that allows the micro-segmentation and allow secure communication with the hybrid network through VPN or through direct connect. And also moving into the other security services that cover the whole kill chain of the attacks, starting from the detection by using the different AWS native security services. We can it help us to do the early detection using the behavioral security analytics, for example, using the Amazon Guard Duty, the data leakage and confidential data detection or confidential data leakage detection by using Amazon Macie, the inspector, and AWS Security Hub that provide us with full visibility among the security on infrastructure on AWS. Moving forward to the response. So whenever we have done the detection, we have different services in order to do the incident response and to automate that response using the Lambda function along with the CloudWatch and the system manager, where we can take an action in order to respond to remediate a specific malicious activities on the AWS account, then to recover and take the final remediation also by patching the system or upgrading the system or removing some unnecessary privilege on the identity access management. So from security perspective, there are a very wide spectrum of services that can help us to with the identity-based access, infrastructure protection, as well to cover all the kill chain for the different attacks, from the early detection of the attack, then to respond to that detection and to automate that incident response and to take the final action for recovery and remediation. Now, we talk about the variable demanding of any e-commerce website that can be solved with the elasticity, the elasticity of the cloud, where AWS is providing with multiple services that supports the auto scaling on different level. Load balancing is part of the service that helps in that auto scaling. Also, the auto scaling on the compute layer, whether the auto scaling for the virtual machine or the EC2 or on the container level. We have the load balancing for traffic steering and to distribute the traffic among multiple compute instancing, and we have an auto scaling on the compute instances, whether that instance is a virtual machine or container or serverless, whatever it is. AWS with this auto scaling and elastic services help the e-commerce to keep serving the high demand, and in order by scaling out the infrastructure during the high demand, then whenever the demand goes back to the normal ratio or to the normal behavior, then the infrastructure will scale in, and the customer will be paying only based on the timeline, on the time that the auto scaling has been done. Now, in order also to keep to boost the performance and make sure always the performance is optimized, seamless, the number of users that we have. There are also a lot of services that helps to optimize the database. For example, the database itself. Whenever we have a high number of connections to the database, a high read-write ratio on the database itself from database application perspective might have some performance issue. There are multiple services offered by AWS in order to optimize the database performance by applying the caching, for example, by applying the caching on the database. Also for the front end, for the front end web servers as well, whenever we have a huge number of connections, we can terminate that connections and serve all the static contents by the content delivery network and do full page caching. So any common request from different customers will be coming from the cache. No need for that request to hit the server and overwhelm the servers, as well as the auto scaling, also the auto scaling services that helps keep the performance at a certain level by adding more and more resources, as well as the network optimization and manage network services provided by AWS in order to make sure that the resources are always there in order to serve the variable customers demanding. We are always talking about being a customer centric. So the end customer experience is one of the most important thing around the whole e-commerce portal. That's why having a personalized experience for each user will play a vital role to keep retaining that customer. When the customer are having, for example, an interest in the technology. So he will always see first different technology related products offering. He can see whenever he would like to buy. And so he will see the laptops along with the accessories of the laptops. He see the mobiles along with the accessories for mobiles. So having this kind of once we have after having a stable e-commerce platform, then the data analytics to study the user behavior will play a vital role, keep retaining the customer after providing them with a premium experience by give them the personalized experience as per the user behavior. Again, regarding the modularity, also, there are a lot of services that help that modularity by moving the architecture from legacy tiered based architecture into a microservices by using the different container services, by using different Kubernetes services, along with its management plane. So we will have a management plane for these microservices along with the data plane where the data of these modules will reside. Now we have summarized the Magento requirement and how and each requirement fall into which category and what is the AWS services that helps to satisfy this requirement. So since Magento is open source, published through the internet, it has an online payment and integration with payment gateways, has the customer private information, has standard and compliance, maybe since it has a payment gateways and integration with different payment gateways, it might have PCI DSS compliance, for example. All these security requirements can be satisfied by having the different AWS security services like AWS WAF, AWS Firewall, the behavioral security analytics by the GuardDuty, applying the microsegmentation using the security group, managing the encryption keys and different certificates using the KMS and ACM, and other services. We are also meeting the variable customer demanding and the promotions during the holiday seasons by the scalability and elasticity, which can be satisfied by having the network load balancer, the application load balancer, elastic load balancer, and gateway load balancers, and different auto scaling services that can be applied on the compute level. Having the continuous integration and continuous development and the keep customizing and tailoring the Magento platform, and in order to help the development team for quickly to release the new product and services on the top of Magento. The DevOps practice is can best fit into that requirement, and we have different services in order to satisfy that DevOps requirement and help us to have a perfect DevOps experience by automating the code automating the code deployment among different platform or from dev environment to the staging environment up to production environment with minimum disruption or minimum downtime. Also, as we mentioned, once we have a stable and secure e-commerce platform, then the whole game is the game of data and analytics. So in order to enhance the user experience and enhance user loyalty and have a data-driven business decisions for the business owners, here we have to apply the different analytics, AI, and machine learning, where AWS have different services, starting from building the data warehouse and cleaning the data and applying the analytics using Athena, then apply the AWS personalized, which allows any e-commerce platform to have the same experience as that the customer is having when the user is browsing Amazon.com. And SageMaker for applying the machine learning and the fraud detector also, which is a fully automated AI and machine learning platform for fraud detector, where different fraud detection use cases can be applied on the Magento e-commerce portal. Having also the microservices in order to serve the modularity and to make the best use of the modularity and the flexibility of the Magento, having the different Elastic Container and Elastic Kubernetes services with the PaaS offering, with a platform as a service offering from Fargate. Making sure always the performance at the best level using the different optimization services on the database level, on the web and delivery level, by using the Redis cache for the database, by using the CloudFront content delivery network and the Elasticsearch services. All of that, it should be work efficiently. And we should always look at the cost optimization, since we are running the Magento platform on AWS and we are using different services. There will be a consumption associated with these services. We, as a part of the operation of excellence of managing and operating a Magento platform, we need to keep that cost as efficient as possible by using different cost optimization techniques with different AWS services, as well as some add-on cost management services provided by Bespin Global, like OpsNap. Now we saw the Magento requirement, and we saw how we can build a great Magento platform using different services from Amazon. Now, what Bespin Global can offer you, how Bespin Global can help you to have a robust, flexible e-commerce platform with the maximum security and high availability, with the best performance. First of all, for existing Magento customers or the customers who's trying to build or implement a new Magento platform on the cloud, we can help our customers by providing the well-architected review, where we can assess the existing Magento environment, against the 5 pillars of the cloud well-architected framework to make sure that the cost is optimized, there is no instance are oversized. We make sure that always the right sizing in place by using different cost optimization technique. We will make sure that the platform from operational perspective, it has a proactive monitoring and automate different operational aspects like backup, restore, and self-healing for different services. We make sure always the performance efficiency is in place. The platform is reliable, highly available, the disaster recovery management, and how to manage the DR failover, and how we can automate that failover and failback. And last but not least, which is the most important, making sure that architecture and that setup is highly secure, using the from access perspective, from application perspective, also from starting from the code level, also since we have a continuous development around an open source components, we need to make sure that security are in place, the encryption in place, and all operations are being run in a secure manner. We also, for the existing and new customer, we help them to make the architecture improvement, making sure that the auto scaling on a different layers, starting from the front end layer, applying the full page caching, having all the static content on content delivery network to apply the caching, having the different component, applying the caching and performance optimization for the sessions, for the database, having scalability on the back end as well, applying the DevOps practices through and CI/CD practices through the code pipeline and different CI/CD tools, and to making sure that we have a proactive operation that provide also security and full visibility on the performance and different operational aspects. As a part of our services that we provide to our customers is to help them also to deploy that DevOps practice in order to automate the continuous implementation or integration and continuous development of the platform seamlessly among different environment, by having the right process for that deployment, by having the right flow for the code pipeline and how the code is going to be built then implemented, having the infrastructure as code, which allows different customers to have all their infrastructure within a piece of executable code, where they can fetch that code into any public cloud, and they can provision an additional environment or provision a DR just within minutes. Adding the security to the DevOps practice in order to make sure that the security will be started from developing the code, making sure the code developed is having the highest level of security. Also, after deploying the code, all the functional services that results of that code deployment are also secure. We help the customer to apply the static code security scanning as well functionality scanning or vulnerability assessment during the CI/CD pipeline. So starting from the developer developing the code, we will start scanning that code up to building that code or compiling this code with the original source code. Also here we will check the integrity and consistency with the main code and make sure that there are no open source component that has a malicious code, up to the building that code and deploying that code and scanning the functional part that results of deploying that code and do the vulnerability assessment, and we extend that into the operation in order to make sure that during the operation we don't have any security breaches. Talking about cost optimization, also Bespin Global has its own multi-cloud cost management system, which will help all cloud customers to optimize their cost by starting by visualizing different costs associated to different services, or any provisioned service on the cloud will have an associated consumption that will be visualized and shown within the ops now. Then the ops now will help you to do the cost allocation and building different cost centers for these services, which will help to optimize the cost and reaching the highest level of the maturity model of cloud governance by applying the cloud governance on the cloud consumption and the cloud cost management, where I can, for example, I can limit the spending of certain department for this amount, or I can limit their consumption to a specific services or specific compute resources. That will, and after having all this maturity in the cloud governance, we apply a layer of artificial intelligence in order to give different recommendations for cost optimization. The AI and machine learning engine will detect if there is any over-provisioned instances that needs to be downgraded, if there is any high consumption on some services where these services can be replaced by other services with the same efficiency but less cost. It will give if there is any room for spot instances or having a cost optimization by applying the saving plan or reservation. All that recommendations will be given by the ops now after learning about the environment and learning about the behavior of the operation of the environment. Also, Bespin Global is an authorized and certified managed service provider and managed security services providers with all hyperscalers, AWS, Microsoft, as well as Google, and we provide with end-to-end managed services for different e-commerce platforms, including Magento, where we provide with the expertise from L1 up to L3 and different subject matter experts. We have the processes that runs under the standard of ITIL version 4 and state-of-the-art tools in order for proactive monitoring and incident response and ticketing system. All that will be with all these components we are providing with SLA-based managed services to our customers, where we can take care of the whole infrastructure cloud management part and keep our customers focusing on their core business, developing their product and services on the Magento e-commerce platform. Actually, that's all from my side, talking about the powerful of Magento platform and the requirement of this platform to make an efficient operation for Magento e-commerce platform, and how we can satisfy the requirement and how we can power that e-commerce platform to have a secure, highly performed, and highly available e-commerce platform, and how we as in Bespin Global can help you to get there, how we can help you to manage your e-commerce platform. Now I will hand it over to Saubia. Saubia, she is the solution architect and e-commerce manager. Saubia, hand it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, Faiz, for that presentation. I am going to now take over and share my screen. So if you can see my screen, everyone, it'll be great to know.
We can see it.
Thank you. Hi, I'm just going to quickly introduce myself. My name is Saubia Khan. I am a solutions architect on AWS, and I am based in Dubai, UAE. And together with Bespin Global, I'm just going to discuss how you can deploy Magento on AWS. With that, let's go over the agenda. So we'll discuss a few key points as to why customers choose to migrate to the cloud, why you would think of deciding why AWS for Magento e-commerce, what are the deployment options that we have available currently for customers who are starting a little bit new on their e-commerce journey. We'll touch upon designing the well-architected way as a complementary to what Faiz was speaking earlier, and we'll discuss a case study. So there are multiple business drivers that we see here on AWS for customers such as yourself migrating to the cloud. Generally, we see customers trying to increase business agility where they are creating business use cases. One of them could be building an e-commerce platform where they believe that their workforce within the organization will be 30 to 70% productive because they're migrating their applications and skills to the cloud. We also see a lot of customers consolidating data centers because they have been active in acquisitions, or they have been experiencing infrastructure sprawl for many years. A lot of customers basically are looking for reimagining their entire business by relying on modern technology, and this movement can be part of a larger digital transformation project or innovation. And definitely we have customers that are cost conscious and always looking for ways to reduce costs while they run their workloads in the cloud. So over the years, we have worked with many customers, especially in the e-commerce space, and by working with those customers and garnering a lot of experience, we've come to realize that there are three key needs that come from customers who are within the e-commerce space. So that is agility. It's the need to move as fast as possible to match with customer demands, especially when customer demands are becoming a lot more dynamic. And then the second requirement is convergence. So it's the need to have, to be well integrated within your business, to have a single brand image, and eliminate silos between different departments, as well as, and then finally, we have experience. So customers have very high expectations, but very low loyalty. So it's very important that you give them a unique experience that retains those customers. And we've talked about personalization in the first half of the webinar. So to fulfill modern e-commerce needs, from an architecture perspective, there are four elements that we're showing here, which is cloud native, microservices and containers, serverless, and purpose-built databases. So together, they can help you build a modern e-commerce platform. I won't touch upon these a lot during this presentation because this has been covered pretty, earnestly in the first half. But there will be some moving to the experiences. This is where we will maybe look about one example on personalization, but generally these experiences are very important to push and fulfill the needs of a modern e-commerce platform. And sometimes what has happened is that although these have become mainstream requirements, customers sometimes don't have that experience or the resources to build and integrate these experiences, whether it be personalization, augmented reality, or search options. So how to make it more intelligent. So these become sometimes challenges for customers. So the benefits, what are the benefits of using AWS for e-commerce? One clear benefit would be global scalability, and that is because a lot of the services that Faiz was discussing earlier on, they are offered in many different parts of the world, and they're highly scalable. So traditionally, if you wanted to build a global scalable platform, you'll have to invest millions of dollars to build that capability. But now, with a click of a console, you can basically use the service depending on where your customers are based and follow a pay-as-you-go pricing model, which then gets reflected briefly, in your bill, and that's all it is. And that way, you can reduce your time to market, which is so important for a lot of customers. The second benefit is drive brand value. So customers, we are aware, are using Magento to start the e-commerce journey, to basically create a platform and build their online presence. But as mentioned, it is open source, and that's just the community edition, so it has its vulnerabilities. And when it comes to scalability for that brand in different geos, it can have its limitations. So with that, with using Magento on AWS, you'll be able to have a little bit more control on how you're owning your brand and how you're projecting that brand to your customers, and have an overall control over the consumer experience. And finally, simplification. So there are customers who would like to use different services on AWS for different purposes. So you can run Magento platform on AWS, but then use other services and integrate it with your platform in different areas, whether it be machine learning or analytics, or for example, even purpose-built databases. So we give you these building blocks that you can leverage and create an environment, and then improve your business value. So how can we actually deploy Magento on AWS? So there are three available options for deployment purposes. We have self-managed, which is where the customer themselves will be in charge of managing the AWS infrastructure, and the shopfront customizations are also handled by the customer. Then we have partner managed. So this is where if you have unique requirements, or you don't have the resources to deploy and build the commerce platform on your own, you might want to leverage partner managed, because they'll be able to handle the requirements and they will have that experience to help you kickstart your journey. So they will be the ones who would be in charge of managing the AWS infrastructure as well as the storefront customizations. And then we have Adobe Commerce, which is powered by Magento, and it runs on AWS. So this is highly available and scalable, and they basically take care of the AWS infrastructure. So they'll be the ones who are managing it, but the merchant or the partner that you're involving would be in charge of managing the storefront customizations. So when we talk about self-managed, what we're referring to over here is that we will provide the scripts or the Amazon machine image, which is basically an image that we provide to run the instance or a server on AWS. And then the customer, once that deployment has been completed, then they'll be in charge of managing, monitoring and updating and patching that environment. So for example, if you want to run a Magento instance on an EC2 instance, so a Magento image on an EC2 instance, once that deployment has been completed, then you would be in charge of monitoring and updating and managing that environment. So that's where the self-management part comes in. So doubling down on the options that come with each of these deployment types. So we have Amazon LightSail on the self-managed side, AWS Marketplace and AWS Quick Starts. Then partner managed, we have the AWS Partner Finder. And then lastly, we also have Adobe, which is another AWS partner. So starting with the self-managed options with Amazon LightSail, this is a easy to use service where you can launch and manage a virtual private server at a low predictable cost. It is very cost effective and it's great for smaller businesses. Then you have AWS Marketplace. So this is a curated digital inventory. So customers can basically they can buy and deploy software within their AWS account. So there's a plethora of options for Magento that are developed by other companies, and they kind of sell it on Marketplace. Then you have AWS Quick Start. So this is an accelerator where customers would take a template or, this could be written in Terraform or in CloudFormation. So they'll deploy that template within their account. And then, and usually these templates are written by AWS partners. So then partner managed. The AWS Partner Finder is a web page that we kind of let customers look for different partners depending on where they are located and what kind of needs that they have. So we'll look into that a little bit in detail later on. And then with Adobe Commerce, or rather Adobe, they give two offerings. So they basically focus on giving merchants a highly available architecture, which is elastically, elastic and scalable, and it's an option that can be globally deployed, so that the merchants who are using that option can have a better experience when it comes to online sales and retailing. Going a bit more technical here. So just talking a little bit more about Amazon LightSail. Once again, it is a very easy way for customers to launch and manage a virtual private server. Why this is something that we refer when it comes to Magento is because sometimes customers who are new to AWS can, or who are unfamiliar with AWS portfolio of services, can find it difficult to onboard themselves and start whatever workload that they're looking into. So LightSail basically reduces the learning curve, and it gives you this bundled offering. So you have your compute, your storage, and your networking all in one place. When your needs and your business grows, so that inevitably happens, then you can migrate from LightSail to a lot more sophisticated and advanced offerings if need be. So that's where LightSail becomes very easy to start your journey. Basically, what I'm trying to show is how you would like to configure a LightSail instance to run a website. There are additional configuration features, for example, which region you would like to launch in. There are networking related configurations that the customer needs to do. So We won't go into too much detail about how to do an end-to-end deployment. I would highly encourage you to look for Amazon LightSail with Magento, and there's a tutorial online that gives you full details about the step-by-step process of how to launch a LightSail instance with a Magento image running on it. So what would happen here is that customers can select between two platforms, which is Linux and Windows. And depending on the platform that you're choosing, so in this case Linux, you would be able to see blueprints, which is nothing but application stacks and operating systems that are supported by that platform. So if you choose Linux, you'll be able to then access the latest version of Magento image, and with some additional configurations, you can then launch a LightSail instance with Magento running on it. Okay, so so think about of how if you're a smaller business, of how you can build your online presence quickly by setting up a website on LightSail, because smaller businesses rely a lot on websites or mobile applications to promote products or solidify branding and differentiate themselves from other competitors. So this is where websites become really key in growing and their brand. With LightSail, once you set up the website, so in this case using the Magento image, then you can personalize it, and you can change it in a way that fits your branding and makes it a lot more authentic. The next step is really to think of how you can enhance the customer experience. So generally this would be customers can subscribe to a newsletter, or there will be a form where they could put in their feedback. So to manage that additional basically feature, you can either leverage a customer resource management tool, or in this case, you can extend it via plugins like HubSpot. So what HubSpot would help you do, for instance, is store all the information from forms into a database, and then from that you can set up a automated email system that will then send emails to customers regarding upcoming events, promotions, sales, so on and so forth. And lastly, it's really about scaling globally. So you would think about where the customer base is, and then launch a LightSail instance there, so that customers can have a better experience when they connect to your platform. This is the second basically self-managed option, which is the marketplace. This is the first one that comes up if you search, which is Magento image packaged by Bitnami. If you were to explore this page a little bit more, it gives you a lot more information on in terms of highlights, how much do you pay per hour, what's the usage like, what are the features that are included, what it can support, and so on and so forth. But this is not just the only option. You can definitely look for other options on Marketplace if that's what suits your needs, and accordingly read the reviews that are over there to get a sense of what other customers thought of when they were using this particular software. So this is the quick start, I would say, option. This was developed by one of our partners called Cheryl. So they developed a Terraform template or module. So this will deploy the open source Magento cluster. So it's going to have a cluster running Magento version, I think 2.4.3 or higher. It's going to automate a lot of the deployment and configuration tasks. And it makes it easier for you to start, and then you can tweak and expand it as you wish. So this is an example of the architecture that was developed by Cheryl. This is pretty much very similar to how you would want to deploy a Magento platform on AWS. So you can see, for example, that it's highly available because the same infrastructure is deployed in 2 availability zones. You have an auto-scaling group. So this is going to scale instances up or down depending on the demand or the traffic. You have an elastic Elastic Load Balancer. This is a managed service, so that means it's going to be used in place for directing requests to the Varnish instance, and then the Varnish instance will direct requests to the Magento. We have additional managed services like caching, which is the best practice to put in front of a database. We have a CloudFront, a content distribution network service here, Secrets Manager, which is used to save and rotate database credentials, but you can use it to save other things as well, and so on and so forth. This is the partner managed option. This is what the AWS Partner Finder would look like. You can type in the solution that you are interested in, and then it will actually bring up a different results, different partners. And then I can narrow it down to where I'm based and what maybe specific partner I'm looking for, and then read into, for instance, what they're recognized for, what are the case studies, and so on and so forth. And lastly, this is the last deployment option, which is the Adobe Commerce. They're also a partner of ours. And this is typically what a page would look like for any partner you're looking for. What's more interesting is what they do offer for customers. So this is the Magento e-commerce platform that is built on the open source technology. And this is the more of the AWS hosting option. So that's the one that is a lot more available. It's scalable. It has a lot of different features within this offering. So that's something that you can also explore. Right, so this is not exactly related to deployment options. It's more of the extension. So for example, Magento has accelerators and plugins to support cloud native Amazon services. And so because we know that Magento has very different modular offerings, so that comes to payment or cart or so, a lot of the AWS capabilities can be integrated with Magento through freely available plugins. So an example that I've seen often with some of my customers is that they would be interested in integrating Magento with Amazon Personalize. So which is this one right here, which is so Amazon Personalize is a managed machine learning service. It will help you build your own personalization models based on your own data, and then you can integrate it with Magento so that the platform has that personalization experience. And then we have a blog post and a video that kind of helps customers look into how that can be done. But this is just a few examples of plugin support for different purposes. Okay, so I think there's some noise. Right, okay. And yes, designing the well-architected way. So if this is a new topic for you, so the well-architected framework was developed on AWS to help customers build resilient, high-performing, and scalable architectures. So ideally, it will describe key concepts, design principles, and architectural best practices for a variety of applications and workloads. We want customers to think if they are following best practices in the context of these 6 pillars, where sustainability is the newly added pillar. And to give a brief idea of what each one is, when it comes to operational excellence, it's more to do with how you can it's how you can run and monitor systems while delivering business value and continually improving existing processes and procedures. So you want to gather data on the different operations of how different services or workloads are faring within the AWS environment, gather that information, and then take action to make sure that there's improvement based on the data that you're seeing. And we'll talk about what I mean in a second. Then we have security. So security is the ability to basically protect systems, assets, information, while again delivering business value through mitigation strategies and risk assessments. You have reliability, so it's the ability to recover from failure, whether that could be service failures or infrastructure failures, and at the same time making sure that you are dynamically acquiring compute resources to meet demand. Performance efficiency. So are you using your compute resources efficiently to meet system requirements, and making sure that as technologies evolve, as your system requirements change, you're still maintaining that efficiency. Then cost optimization, which is eliminating unneeded costs. So if you have idle resources running in your environment, turn it off. If you have suboptimal resources, think about how you can optimize the usage of that. And lastly, sustainability, which is where we can help you reduce your footprint and help you basically improve your processes on AWS. So this is a small example of based on the pillar, what choices you would like to make. Some of these parts that I've put here are directly taken from white papers. So each of these pillars have white papers online that I would encourage you to take some time to go through. It goes into detail about the different ways and the different best practices. So some of them are best practices, some of them are just general, I would say, ideas within the white paper. So and based on that, what service can you use to fulfill that? But this is not a complete list, of course. There's just so many. We have over 200 services, and there's sometimes things can even overlap from one pillar to another using that same service. So starting from operational excellence, it's generate dashboard views of your metrics collected from workloads. So the service that I'm showing here is Amazon CloudWatch. And so it's a monitoring service that basically gathers metrics emitted by different AWS services. And then you can actually view them on the console. So you can create dashboards and then have like aggregated view of the metrics. And then accordingly, you can even take actions when you realize what's happening. So a small example could be that Amazon EC2 would emit the CPU utilization metric, and that's sent to CloudWatch automatically on your behalf. And then you could basically look at how the utilization is taking place over some time. If it's being underutilized, if it's extremely high utilization, is there a way to optimize that, and so on and so forth. Security. So Faiz did show up the whole security, I would say, stack of services that you would use for different purposes. So we'll just quickly talk about one of them, which is how you could tighten down your infrastructure at the highest level. So this is referring to infrastructure protection. So you can use Amazon Virtual Private Cloud to do that. And that is a logically isolated the environment in which you could decide how your resources are deployed, what are the ways that you could access those resources. So a lot to do with network configuration, applying security at all levels. So creating, let's say, public subnets, private subnets, security groups, and so on and so forth. Reliability, so using AWS risk services to automatically recover from failure. So Amazon S3 has 11 nines of durability, which means that in, let's say, 10,000 years, there's just, you would lose like one object. And then we have performance efficiency. So using managed services to significantly improve application performance. So in this case, I'm giving an example of our Amazon Relational Database Service. So instead of running your own databases and handling a lot of the database administrative work, you can use a managed service to focus on configuring what kind of database you would like. So for instance, choosing the engine, how would you like to deploy it, the size of the instance, and then letting a lot of the operational burden of managing the database on AWS. And then cost optimization, so scaling up and down to meet traffic demands while controlling costs. So the example I gave over here is AWS auto scaling, which was shown a few slides ago. So you can use this to scale your instances up and down to meet traffic demands, but at the same time controlling costs, because they won't be available all the time. So if you're not at your peak demand, you don't need that many instances running, and you can control costs that way. And then sustainability. So use edge caching to reduce the amount of data traversing the network from your origin server. So this is pertaining to the network access of your customers based on the geography that they're in. So if you know where your customers are located, leverage edge caching or edge locations to cache content, so that the network resources required to provide them the content that they're looking for is reduced. Okay. And finally, we are at our last segment, which is the Altair Group case study. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Altair Group, they established themselves back in 1979, and since then they have grew and created a diversified portfolio of businesses in industries such as automotive, retail, ventures, real estate, to just name a few. So they operate in 6 countries in the Middle East, and they manage more than 200 stores. So one of the things that they were looking for was to cater to a younger and evolving customer base. And they were having difficulty to do that because their previous infrastructure was on premises. So it made it very difficult for them to scale their websites and to ensure high availability. The other part was they wanted to easily manage their overall website environment and add more compute capacity and control costs. And so for these reasons, they basically worked with AWS to figure out what parts they can migrate from on-premise all the way to AWS. So some of the decisions that they made when they were implementing their solution was move their e-commerce platform consisting of 4 website portals to Amazon EC2. The other thing that they also made a decision with is use their Magento content management system with Amazon Aurora, which is our proprietary database offering. And with that, they were able to increase performance up to 400% and cut down costs by 40%. The other change that they made is moving their on-premise data warehousing solution to Amazon Redshift, which is our managed data warehousing solution. So that helped them, again, cut down costs and improve query times. So the benefits that they were able to experience is that because they were able to migrate their self-managed Kubernetes front end and their website in production environment to Amazon EC2 Spot instances, they were able to lower their operational costs by 79%. So if somebody's new and they don't know what Spot instances are, it's basically unused or leftover EC2 capacity that if you can use, you'll get like 90% off compared to on-demand instances. And at the same time, they were able to easily add compute capacity to support 50% increase in website traffic. With that saved cost, they were able to put that money for other purposes like innovation. And lastly, because of these different changes, they were able to ensure a reliable experience for customers. So a quick quote from the lead DevOps engineer, which is our business continues to grow and their costs have not increased because of cost savings, because they were using EC2 Spot instances, and they can put that money that they saved into innovation. And with that, we are at the end of our webinar. I just want anybody to take this as a next step. So based on the discussions we've had, you can either build a net new solution or augment existing solutions and have trainings. Like I mentioned, we have blog posts and we have tutorials to help customers get kickstarted. Then you can leverage partners, of course. So you can have, introductions, demos, schedule time with them for demos, and look into the references at solutions that they have developed, or you can do both. So there's quite a few things that I want to leave you at. And with that, we are at the end. So thank you very much for spending some time with us and sitting us through with this webinar.